Hey guys, it's Friday night, time for a stream, and we are continuing on from this afternoon's stream. I have added some code to our project, and it is basically setting up the new key mapping and saving it. Okay, this is here. We have added to our designer, sorry, not designer, the graph, in that we are passing in whether it's an axis button or an action button. Okay, so from that, I do believe that these are action buttons as well, and therefore that should be empty. That is the axis buttons, and then this one should be false as well. Okay, so we are creating it if it's an action button as an action button, and we're creating it as an axis button if it's an axis button. Okay, and this is going to allow us to determine whether we need to set up an action button or an axis button. So that is the thought process behind this, and we are going to do a full-on save, right? And then we're going to press play, and we're going to go to the key bindings, and on our hotbar we're going to select this button here and press F5. And this is going to remove the original key mapping. Okay. Then we're going to add the action mapping, and then we're going to save the action mapping. Okay. So if we step over, we add the action mapping. We step over, we save the action mapping. Well, basically what we do is we save all of them, and we resume. Okay, so if we now go back and exit the game, and if we press play again and go to options and key bindings, it is not there. We haven't set up the correct mapping. So you'll notice now that our action mapping does not exist, basically. Right? So what we're going to do is we're going to have to exit the game and we're going to have to break this because we don't want it to save it and get it wrong. Okay, but what I'm going to do in the meantime is make sure everything else is correct. And I've got a funny feeling that this isn't set. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to go into our project settings, go to our input, and you'll notice that our hotbar 5 is not there. Okay, So we need to add it back in. Once we've got this all working and we're confident, then what we'll do is we'll allow it to save, and then we shall put these back into the correct order, etc. But up until then, we're not going to allow it to save. So we're going to go to options, key bindings. Now these are still going to be in the right order. So we hit F5. And that did not do anything. That's a bit weird. We're going to try that again. You'll notice it's definitely there, but it hasn't saved it or anything. So we hit F5 and it didn't do anything. Right, so there's something weird going on here. So that would suggest that the key bind is in use or something. Right, which we know it's not. Right. So we hit this button. And we step over. And it says the key bind is in use. But it's not. Right? So we need to find out where it's getting set. Right? And we need to find out if there's something in here that's setting it. Right? So there's certainly nothing in there. Okay. Nothing there, so we know that there's nothing in there. Nothing there. Nothing there. And okay, right, so we're gonna have to delete this. Okay, so that explains why it was doing that. Okay, so we can come back in here, Hotbar 5, we'll go F6, okay, then we shall step over, and it's not in use, okay. And it should be an action button, right, which is correct. So we've got Hotbar 5. and that's the previous setting. Okay. Then we step over and our action name is nothing. Right. So I'm guessing this is actually nothing. It's false, 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 nothing, nothing. Right, so I'm not 100% sure where it's getting this sub-index from. Right. And it actually appears, well, the thing was that it actually right, we're going to stop this again. We're going to press play. We're going to go to options and key stuff, and it's removed our thing again. Okay. So the thing that's causing the problem here is this sub-index. Right? We're not setting the sub-index or something. Right? So what I need to do is check it in the other project to find out where the sub-index is actually getting set. Right? So this is going to be Hotbar 5. Right? And we're going to set it back to 5. Okay. And let's take a look where this actually gets set. So this is the other project, okay? And we've got this sub-index. We've got index and sub-index. Now, I can't exactly remember where these are coming from. Right, but we're going to have to do a general search on this. We'll say no. Right, and we're basically getting sub-index. And the sub-index is set to 0. And our index is set to 0. So I can only assume, right, that we're setting this up somewhere right, but it doesn't appear we are. Okay, so if that's the case, oh, now this is interesting. Are we doing this on the other thing? I'm going to copy that. I mean, I don't think this is anything to do with anything, but we don't have that. Right? And if we look back at this on is C selecting key change, right? So we shall minimize that for now. Is that changed? Then we basically do that. And what we actually have to do here is split this out because I pasted it twice and delete that. Then save that, and again we need to find out about this sub-index, if it's being set somewhere. Now I'm going to guess if it is, in fact, set somewhere. Right, it's going to be in here somewhere. And it's actually going to be in here. So we're going to set everything else to be invisible here so that we can see what's going on. And in fact, right, we don't need that message, but we are going to kill everything else. Right, and we do need this VBox bindings. And then we need to find the references. And this is the stuff that's setting it up. Right? And it doesn't seem to have the index. Okay. So we'll check the second one, and it's not got it there. And that's just for setting it visible and invisible. Okay. So that's kind of weird. So we'll minimize that. So the thing is here, is that could probably go in there. And just for argument's sake, right, I'm going to do that. Okay. And we're going to save that. And we're going to press play. And we're going to go to options, click on that. And then we're going to press F7. And that didn't seem to do anything. So it would appear to me that I've set something to be F7 again on the input, which doesn't seem credible, but that goes to 5. Is there an F7 somewhere? I'll tell you what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to change this from Z to C. Right, that's nothing. I. And we don't have an F6. Which is bizarre. Right, so we'll save that. On is selecting key changed. Alright. Let's drag this up. It might be doing this. Right, so we're going to look at this again. Right, we're going to look at our key bindings again. On is selecting key changed. We change this. Right, and on key selected. And the last key changed is not equal to that. Right. So that's all okay. Let's test this as well. So we go to options, Hotbar 5, F6, Okay. Last key change was 5. So that's fine. Step over. Right, that's bizarre. Right, I'm confused. F6. So if it equals that's weird. This seems not right to me somehow. Yeah, that's because it's the wrong way around. Right. Okay. So now that we've got that sorted out, that little issue. So we can say F5. And we are passing in absolutely nothing. Oh yeah, we are. F5. Step over that, and this should be false, which is correct. The action, hotbar 5, is action false. Key pressed is F5. Right. So this is hotbar 5. And we're telling it to go away. And then the next one is add it back in. And it's hotbar 5. And then the key is F5. So I'm going to go for that's worked. Now, the easy way we can tell that it's worked is if we go to the project settings and we look at input, and we can see there that it's done it. Okay, so that's good. Okay, so fundamentally it's working. So I can plug this back in, even though apparently I don't need to, but we'll do it anyway because that's the way it was. Right, now what we'll do as well is we'll grab that for there, and we shall need to check this later to see if this is actually bringing anything back. But the point being that if we break this, right, we should actually get, well, we're not going to get it. We should have got the access key. So we're going to assume that's right. I know it's a bit, at the moment, it's a bit of a minor point because we're working on the hotbar and we're trying to get that working. So we're going to allow ourselves a little bit of leeway there. But our F5 is changed, so we can change a couple more. So if we come in here, right, and we basically say F2, right, and we can disable that breakpoint, and then we can disable that one and that one, and resume. Okay, basically now we can come back, and if we go to options again, this has now all been reloaded, right? So we've got F4, F2 and F5. Okay, so we can now look at our FE controller and go to here. In fact, we look at Hotbar main, it is, and we get Keybinds, right? So we can now look at this. Okay, that's not it. I'm getting incredibly silly here. And it's this part here. And now let's press continue. F2, but this one does not say F5. So it kind of worked. Okay, not quite, but it kinda. So what we can do, we know it's building up our keys, right? right? It's getting this value from R keys. But what I need to know is how it builds up R keys. And where in fact are R keys. Okay. And I'm going to guess, right, that I've renamed that wrong. And I have, so that's going to be Hotbar 5. And you'll notice when it renamed it, it put it back in alphabetical order, which is cool. Right, and we've obviously got Hotbar 2, which is F2, right? So that's all working. Right? And let's actually run that again just to make sure it's working as expected. We've got F2 there, but we haven't got F5. Right, now I think that is because, actually I don't know why, but the way we're going to fix it, I think, is to get our save games and basically delete everything. So I'm going to delete everything. Then we're going to start the game again. Then we're going to go to options, keybinds. Then we're going to do the same thing. Oh, these are actually set now. So you'll notice though that this says Hotbar 5. Right? So we're actually going to change this to F8. And we're going to go back. Okay, that. And you'll notice that this hasn't changed. And that is basically, it has to be because this Hotbar 5 is not saved correctly. Right? So again, it has screwed up. So I think what we're going to have to do, sorry, we need to look at the project settings again. And it's been reset. So I think we're going to have to remove the whole thing, right? And then we're going to have to add it again. And then we're going to have to call it Hotbar 5. And then we're going to set it to 5. Then we're going to close that. Then we're going to run it again. We're going to go to options. And we're going to check. So we do have Hotbar 5 now. And we'll change that to F8. Then we'll go back, OK that, continue, OK. An interesting thing is that it's set to 5. Okay. Wait a minute. It's because it's blank. It's because it's blank. At least I think it's because it's blank. Right, we'll stop that. Okay. So let's go to our options again. Right. And we shall change 4 to F11. Okay. And we shall continue that. There we have our F11. Okay. So it is because it's blank that we're not updating the number. Right, so if we stop this, right, and we go to options, in fact it's not options, it is our Hotbar main. Right, and we go to the event graph, and then we get fill the blanks, and it's this part here. Right, so what we actually do is get this, so we copy that, and then we go to fill the blanks. Then I believe we paste that, and we plug it in there. Then we delete this and we plug that in there. Then we basically drag this up here and here. Except we don't really want to do that because it's a bit in the way. So what we'll actually do is we'll just drag it there. We'll drag this across. We'll save that. We can press play. We can continue. And now we have our F2, F11, F8, right? And we need a smelter, so if I hit F2, there is my smelter. Excellent. And if I hit F11, you can see there, I've also hit F12, which means, or F10, I've changed something somewhere, but I've sent it into full screen mode, but you can see whatever I have done there is screwed up. And we shall save all. And I've completely knackered it. Don't know how, but I have. So we're going to close that for now. But we now have our key bindings working along with our hotbar, and you can update the hotbar. Okay, but we need to open this up again, obviously. And we need to hope that it's not full screen, because I don't know what happened, but you know, we're going to live with it. And we'll check it out. So I am going to let this basically load up. I'm going to grab a quick cigarette. I shall be back in 2 minutes. If you're enjoying the stream, hit the like and subscribe. And check the description for more information about how to support the channel and the Discord. So I shall be back in 2. Don't go anywhere. Okay guys, we're back and ready to go. So we've got another thing to test here, right, which we did the other night, but we never got around to testing. And that was something that's related to what we're doing right now. I'm going to show you as we do it. And that is, you'll notice that we have our F11s, our F8s, etc. working, which is great. Now, it is a case where I press F2, right, that I get a smelter, okay? That is by design, okay? Now, it is doing something weird, I know, with the lighting, which obviously F2 does something in the editor, right? So what we're going to do is, now that we know those work, we're going to change these back to the right buttons, right? Right. So if we change those back to the right buttons and go back and then continue, you'll notice that all our buttons are back to the way they were, apart from 0, which is as expected, right, at the moment, because we've got a little bit of code to write in here for the 0. But for the most part, everything else is working fine. But when I do a research of mining, I made on the application of our rewards for researching, we added in a couple of new things, right? Which was basically if we add a building that becomes available or a connector that becomes available as part of that reward for completing that research. Now, the one we set up in the first instance was in fact mining. So with that in mind, we can actually do it with the buttons. You'll notice that I'm not pressing the buttons. I am merely using the hot keys, right? So I'm using the hotkeys to basically, well, actually I'll use the button there, but we're not going to worry about that. Right, so we're going to set up our stuff. Right, and we're going to set up everything. So we're going to spin these around to the right directions. And at this point, we are going to save the game. Okay. And that's bauxite, so that's perfect. And now what we want to do is we want to join all of these up with conveyor belts, right? So we can basically do that. And that's rubbish, so we'll do it again, but we'll do 2. Right, now that's not working properly, but we're going to fix that as well. Okay, so as I've always said to you guys that have been listening, we build it up piece by piece, little bit of logic by little bit of logic, right? But the first thing that I want to test is this. Okay, so the next thing we do is we add some workers. Okay. And obviously we have to set up our research. So we set up research mining. And we can come back to here. Okay. And that's kind of nearly working. Do an iron sheet. Because of the lighting, the iron sheet doesn't look how it should. But we won't worry too much about that. We have some research going here. We can check on our research. Nothing's been done yet, but that'll change. We can speed the game up. And we should start getting some research. And here it comes. And you can see it working there. And what we're going to do is we're going to slow it down, then we're going to pause it, and I believe it's in our FE controller is what we want to look at here. We're going to close this down for the moment. And we don't have anything open there. Right, so I must have closed the wrong one, but that's okay because that will give us a fresh start on this. So we can look at FE controller. Okay. And we're doing this thing here. So this is the thing we want to check. Okay. So we resume this. And we speed it up again. And then once we're up to nearly finished, we'll slow it down again. Okay, so it's going up. And probably about now we'll slow it down. Right, it's going to do its last bit of processing. Apparently it's got one to go. Here it comes. So this is all well and good. And we should be quickly getting to yep, there we go. We can step into we can step over, step over, step over. And did that do anything? Apparently not. Okay, so we're going to stop that, and I believe if we continue this, Yeah, we can do that. Right, we need to find out what this update hotbars needs to be doing. If this has been cleared, then this is going to be nothing, right? But the thing is, I think it did go in here, right? But apparently we didn't save it, which I suppose is fine under the circumstances. Right. So this would kind of suggest that we need to right, we've got nothing there. Want to spin this around, and we've got it on iron sheet. Spin that around, that's on research, which is fine. Spin that around, we need to set the research up separately. And this is bauxite, so we'll save it, or at least I hope we'll save it. And then we're going to select research. And we don't want to do that. What we want to do is select this. Select it again. And there we go. And we can now speed it up and get it rocking and rolling for us. Okay. And that's it started on its adventure. So we can select our research, we can see this is progressing. Right. That's going well. And we can slow it down again. That's going to do our last one, I believe. So we can check it from there. Once it breaks. And there we go. Okay, so basically we're setting this to nothing. So that's actually wrong. Okay, and what we actually need to do here is basically update these things first and then do this. Okay. And we should probably move this down a bit to about there. Will do. That's fine. So what we need to do is run that again, and Why is our saving not working is a good question on this. Considering I worked on it all the other night there to get the darn thing working, and suddenly it's not, when it was definitely working the other day. Now I'm going to go with the fact that I need to start a new game again to basically get it to work properly again, but it's a bit worrying, to say the least. A bit, not a lot, but right, so we're going to move them around. Then we're going to set up the correct recipes for each of these. Okay. Right, we've not set up research yet, so we need to set up that. And we have got bauxite, which is good. So we need to do that and that. Then do our conveyor belts. And on that, we shall add lots of workers while we're at it. And we'll stop that. Okay. And we definitely need some type of indicator here that says that we're on I don't know what's happened here. Anyway. Right, so that stuff's all going in there. Now we're getting stuff out of there. And now we should be getting, there's some things there. Okay. It's going up nicely, which is what we want. And guys, I forgot how quiet a Friday night was. For streaming at this time, and here's our last one. I can turn this back to the right thing. And here we go. So we can step into this, and this time we should have something, which we do. Step over. Step over. And is this complete? Apparently one of them is. Okay. We're going to resume that. And it's not done it. Okay. So whatever was going on with that hasn't actually done it. Right, now I'm going with that is because of the saving. Right. Now the interesting thing here is this basically I need to know what this is, right? And I'm pretty sure I can find that out by doing that. Then getting the controller and finding out what this actually is, right? And it's mining 1. Okay. So we actually know in here that this is the thing. Okay. Now, what we actually need to do is pass this in. Right? And if we pass it in, we don't need to do all these checks, right? Because we know that it's just been completed, right? So we can add an input and call it research completed, and it's a struct research. Okay, so we can save that, and then we can go in here and we can go struct current research, and we can basically plug it. Interesting. And this is a struct research requirements. Okay, whatever. So this is a research items, and this is research requirements. Okay, and now if we go back to here, if we break this, we can find out what this actually is, and we've got a name, right? So the name basically suits us just fine. Okay, and we don't actually need to do that. All we need to actually do is change this research completed name, right? And this is a string, so we just change this to a string. We save that, we drag it off of here, right? We go back to here and we pass this in here. Then we basically hide everything. drag this across, put it in here. Then we go to here, and what we actually do right is we get it for the data table. Not the data table, of course. Okay, so we get data table row. And it's research items. Okay. And that is going to go for there. And this is going to get removed. Now, I believe this might have to have a replace on it. Right? Now, if it doesn't really matter, because it's not going to do it any harm. And then that is going to go in there. Okay. Then the out row is going to go in here, which is fine. We don't need to know if it's complete because we know it is already. That goes to there. Right. And what we can do is we can add a breakpoint here and add a breakpoint here. Just so that we can check it. Then we can save that and we can test it again. We'll dismiss these errors. The saving isn't working right, but that's I think because I need to basically delete everything again. And we don't do that. Okay, and we can do our LLLLLs. And are we going to be lucky again and hit bauxite? I don't know, gonna have to wait and see. I think we're due a copper, to be honest. Right, there's none of that selected, but we can spin them around while we're here. And there it is, copper. I knew it was coming, had to be. Right, so what we'll do in the meantime is we'll join these up. Don't know what happened there. Right, that was a weird one. Things are going a bit strange here. Don't know if this is going to work. I've never seen this one. Interesting though. Right, so I think that's going to just follow us around now. That's bauxite. So I'm hoping it doesn't interfere with anything. It's the first time we've seen that error. Or that bug anyway. So we hit that button a few times, then we hit return. And everything's still working fine. That's a weird one indeed. I think there's a problem because these are interfering with these, which is those won't be here anymore, so you won't be able to open these ones up. And did I select? Nope. Just let this run. And brilliantly, I haven't joined this one up. And there we go. So we resume that. We step over. And we get the building name. So if we step into this, minor 2, then we should resume that. And it's not been put on our list. So that's not very good. It did do the check, that's for sure. So we need to do that, and we need to do that. Okay. And I think we're going to call that for tonight. It's been awful quiet. We've been going for about an hour and a half, so that's fine enough for a Friday night. So if you've joined and watched, thank you for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed it. As I said, hit the subscribe and like buttons. And if you want to know a little bit more or support the channel, you can check out the description for Discord, which you're welcome to join. And at no cost, you can click on the link to my previous game and add it to your wish list, which will help. Or if you actually want to support the channel financially, then you can buy it or join the Patreon. So thanks again, and I'll see you tomorrow at 2 PM Central. Bye bye for now.